So Musky Hans is going to talk about his attempt to raise bait. I bought the vermicomposting setup off Amazon because I want to see if I could raise worms. I know when I first tried using it, I had too much water in it and I killed a bunch of worms. I think from looking at just what's in it, it looks like there's a bunch of little red worms in it, but I didn't see any night crawlers. But I'm gonna start digging through it to see what I find. Like here is a nice little red worm. Maybe I should just keep some of the compost and dig it out. You see it made a really nicely broke down material though. It's nice, looks like some good soil. Smells like there's some really good smelling microbiology going on in this too. So here's what some of the soil looks like. That looks like some really good amendments in my soil. Although it's probably too late in the year to add that to really get any benefit to it to my garden. But here's another red worm. I feel kind of like a hippie talk doing this, but where's that plastic in there? There's another red one. I'm sure this papers are broken down. I wonder if I keep this paper to add to the next batch of it. I figured all this paper would be broken down, but it's definitely it's not broken down. Granted, I think this is an old fishing regulation, so it's probably the most not the most palatable paper either. But the worms seem to be in it, although they've been in here for a long time, so they've had a lot of time to eat this material. I'm sure maybe they don't like the paper with all the ink on it. I'll have to see if the paper is broken down in the lower layers because this is the top layer. So, anyways, I'm gonna stop this video. I'll tell you if I find any what I find for worms that are actually in this. So this is Musky Han's first time trying to use a setup like this. And I just took the still have one of the middle layers to do, but I took out the bottom layer, and this bottom layer almost has a consistency like peat, which is pretty cool. This must just be all the earthworm casts they've made over time. So I have one more layer. I still have not found any night crawlers. I've only found red worms, and I put 30 red worms and like 18 night crawlers into this. So maybe I killed the night crawlers by it being too wet. Or I also have heard that night crawlers don't do the greatest in vermicompost. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all the red worms I have, and then I'm going to just put them back in the new setup, and then I'm going to just reuse them. They're already used to eating garbage, so that's probably a good setup. I'm surprised there's as much paper chunk still remaining in here. I know paper has a higher carbon and nitrogen ratio, so it doesn't break down as much fast as things like food waste. A lot of the compost is a lower carbon and nitrogen ratio, but I've had these worms in here for like 3 months, and I really haven't added anything to them the next 2 months because I've just been burying my junk food in the garden by my plants. And I was just curious to what this was like, so I decided to tear it apart. I'm really disappointed with how the night crawlers didn't make it though. Maybe this stuff is too wet for them. Like I haven't added any water to it in months, and I've actually drained water out of it, and it's still super wet. I almost wonder if I mix this up and measure what the organic matter is. Once it dries out somewhat, I'll get. It should be really high. Maybe I'll have to dry some of it out on a pan outside and then see what it actually is. And I can measure what the electrical conductivity and pH is. Because I think I was trying to use the water from this, the liquid that came out of this to water my plants, and I think it partially caused them to get too salty. And then I measured the salinity value on what was coming out of it, and the salinity was actually pretty high. Also, what's interesting is there's this corn. I think this is just corn husk, and the corn husks also have a high carbon nitrogen ratio, and the worms really haven't seemed to completely break them down. All the worms are really in the top two layers. I don't know, so they must be done working this stuff, or it was too wet. But that's interesting. This stuff has such a weird smell to it. So now that we're have it taken apart, what I'm going to do is start this back over. And these have slots between them so the worms can go between them. So you start out by putting this on the bottom, and this actually catches the liquid, and the liquid that comes out of this is supposedly good fertilizer. And then this one goes on top, and I have cardboard sitting in the bottom, which shouldn't break down very quickly. And I'm going to put some paper and food waste I have mixed together and start it out again. So I have some I have some coffee grounds and some other little bits of food waste here I'm gonna put in there. And then I have some cherry seeds, which I'm sure they're not going to eat, but really interesting to see if they're broken down. But I hated that all the fruit has stickers on it because then you have to peel it off. And then I was gonna put in some chunks of paper, which I kind of wet so I could tear it up more, but it doesn't really need to be. It would be better if I used shredded paper. A lot of this paper is junk mail. Probably putting too much paper in there. I had to add some food waste. And then I'm going to take the worms I raised and dump them back in there. And there's definitely more than 30 red worms, but none of the night crawlers survived, which I'm very disappointed about. So I don't know whether I should start one and just have night crawlers in, or night crawlers don't do good in this, or maybe I'll just have like one layer with night crawlers in it. But I don't know if I'll try this again or not. But that's Musky Hound's attempt to raise